Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that every thought you've ever had might not be entirely your own. The opinions you defend so passionately, where did they come from? The news you trust, who decides what you see? The way you see yourself and the world, how much of it was deliberately shaped? What if your perception of reality was carefully engineered, not for your benefit, but to serve the interests of others? This chapter will uncover the hidden forces that shape your beliefs. The psychological tactics used to control perception. Why people rarely question the narratives they live by. How to begin reclaiming your mind from external manipulation. Because in the end, freedom begins in the mind, but so does control. The mind is a battlefield, how thought control works. The illusion of independent thinking. Most people believe they form their own opinions. They trust in their rationality, their ability to think critically. They believe they make independent choices based on facts. They assume that if something were untrue, they would recognize it. But the truth is, our minds are highly susceptible to influence. How thought manipulation works. Repetition. The more you hear something, the more you accept it as truth. Authority bias. People trust those in positions of power, even when they lie. Emotional anchoring. Fear, hope, and anger are used to override rational thought. Example, the Overton Window society is conditioned to see certain ideas as acceptable and others as extreme. The boundaries of acceptable thinking shift over time, usually to benefit those in power. People never question who decides these boundaries, or why. If your mind operates within a controlled framework, how free are your thoughts, really? Information control. Who decides what you see? The news you consume, the studies you trust, the history you learn, all pass through filters of power. Who controls the flow of information? Media conglomerates. A handful of corporations own most global news outlets. Big tech algorithms, social media platforms decide what content gets visibility. Academic institutions, research funding influences what gets published, and what doesn't. Example, the echo chamber effect. People believe they are informed, but they are only seeing what is permitted within their ideological bubble. Algorithms push content that reinforces beliefs, trapping people in self-reinforcing feedback loops. Contradictory information is suppressed, discredited, or never shown at all. The result? A controlled perception of reality disguised as free thought. The psychological tactics used to shape your thinking. Repetition and propaganda, the science of indoctrination. Repetition is the most powerful weapon of mass influence. Advertisers use it to convince you to buy products. Politicians use it to sell you ideas. Governments use it to shape national identity and history. How it works: flooding. The same messages are repeated across different platforms. Association. Positive or negative emotions are linked to specific ideas. Demonization of dissent. Those who question narratives are ridiculed or ostracized. Example, the good versus evil narrative. Complex geopolitical conflicts are often reduced to us versus them thinking. Nuanced debates are shut down in favor of simplified, emotionally charged slogans. Questioning official narratives is framed as dangerous, immoral, or extremist. The goal? To ensure you don't think critically, you just react emotionally. Emotional manipulation. Fear as a tool of control. Fear is one of the most effective tools for shaping human behavior. How fear is used to control thought. Fear of social rejection. People self-censor to avoid ridicule. Fear of catastrophe, crises, real or manufactured, justify extreme measures. Fear of the unknown. Uncertainty keeps people reliant on trusted authorities. Example, the perpetual crisis model societies are kept in a constant state of anxiety through carefully timed events. Fearful populations accept policies they would otherwise reject. Once the fear fades, a new crisis takes its place. The result? A population too scared to ask critical questions. How to break free from thought control. Question everything, even your own assumptions. When you hear a fact, ask, who benefits from me believing this? Recognize emotional triggers. Are you thinking logically, or reacting instinctively? Study opposing viewpoints, not to agree, but to understand the full picture. Limit your exposure to controlled information. Reduce reliance on corporate media, seek independent sources. Be aware of algorithmic manipulation. Social media is not neutral. Practice media fasting. Your perception of reality will change. Strengthen your mind against manipulation. Develop critical thinking skills, logic over emotion. Surround yourself with independent thinkers. Value truth over comfort, because reality is often uncomfortable. Conclusion: the war is invisible, but it is real. So, now you know. Most people believe they are free thinkers, but their thoughts are engineered. Media, algorithms, and psychological tactics shape what we perceive as truth. Those who control perception ultimately control society. The real question is, now that you see it, what will you do? Your journey begins now. Break free from the illusion, stay informed. Like, share, and subscribe to uncover more.